Okay, so we've sorted our images, we've keyworded our images, we've copyrighted our images, we have put some color ratings on our images, and now we're going to talk about how we can move those around, deal with those, or view those in a more usable way. So right now, all of these images reside in my folder, which is dated Lightroom demo. Now, what I've done is I have my 2 stars, which are my second edits. I have my 1 stars, which are my first edits. And then I've put 3 red tags on here for sort of my alternate images for my second edit. But let's say that those second edits are my picks for the assignment. So I'm going to come down to my filter down here and I'm going to click on the 2 stars and it's going to filter it and show me my 2-star images. And if I hold down Shift and click on the last image, it'll select all 5. And then I'm going to make a new folder. And so I have my folder selected and I'm going to say add subfolder and I'm going to call it pics. And I'm going to make sure that include selected photos is checked and I'm going to create it. And you can see that it creates another folder inside of that folder. If I turn off my filtering, I can still see all 20 images because I'm in that top level of the folder, and that preview pane will show me everything in all of the subfolders as well. But my images are now in another folder. They are potentially movable from that space and won't stay tagged to that original folder that they were in. And I'll show you if I click over into the Finder, you can see that in my folder, I have my Lightroom demo folder, which has my images in it. And then it has created in my Finder that subfolder of pics and has put my images in there. So you can see that when I do things in Lightroom with the folders, it's actually moving my files on my hard drive. So I need to be a little bit careful about that. But as long as I do it all within Lightroom, everything will stay fine and Lightroom will know where all the images are. But if I go back out to my Finder and let's say that I decide that I don't want that last image in there, and so I'm going to select them and drag them back into that main folder. And so it just moved them back into that main folder. When I come back into Lightroom, you'll notice that my pics folder still shows my 5 pictures. But I just moved this one. How can it still show it to me? You'll also notice in this upper right corner, there's a little rectangle with an exclamation point in it. And what that means is the photo is missing. And by missing, what Lightroom is telling me is it looks at that folder and it says, I know that you think these 5 images are in there, but this one is not. And so if I click on that icon up there, it's going to bring up a dialog and say, do you want to help me find this image? And I'll say, okay, let's locate it. And then it brings up my file settings and I can go in and I can just choose that image, which I know is this image right here, I believe. It will show me a preview of it over here. It's a large file and it's a raw file, so it may take a minute. So that's the image. And I'm going to say select. And when I do that, Lightroom removes it from here, but it's put it back in the main folder. So really the way to move things around in Lightroom, if you must move them from folder to folder, hopefully when you're importing everything, you're putting them into the correct folders and you don't have to do a lot of this. But the best way to move them is to drag each image. And in order to drag the image, you don't click on the gray area around it because remember that's got flags and ratings and rotate and all that other stuff. You have to click on the image itself and you can just drag it to the other folder. And when you do that, Lightroom is going to give you this dialog box that says, you're moving this file on the disk. This will cause the corresponding file on the disk to be moved. So it gives you this sort of warning. And if you're sick of seeing this warning because you're moving a lot of things, you can check it to not show it again. But you're going to say move. It says it already exists. Did I put it in the wrong folder? I must have dropped it in the wrong folder. So I'm going to say okay. And I'm going to try that again. With my enlarged icon, it makes it a little tough. There, my folder is highlighted. It's giving me the move. It's going to move it. I can do multiple images at once. So if I shift click all of them, select one of the images, go down until my folder is highlighted, drop it, It's going to give me that dialog again. It's going to move them all. Now they're all back in the main folder. I don't need this pics folder anymore. And so I can click on the little minus icon up here and it'll get rid of that folder. So that's sort of managing folders, and that moves your files around. But let's say we want to gather all these up, but we don't want to move them on the disk. So the next thing that we can do is, and I'm going to go back to my 2 stars, just like I made my folder, and I'm going to shift click and select them all. And I'm going to come down to collections, and I'm going to click this little plus button, and I am going to say, create collection out of this. And it's going to have me, ask me what to name it, and I'm going to call it Assignment 1 Pics. And I'm going to include the selected folders, or the selected photos, and I'm going to hit create. And now it is put down here a collection, Assignment 1 Pics. And you can see that it looks like a stack of photos, the little icon. This Smart Collections one above it looks like a file box. That is what's called a collection set. So if you're working within a larger Lightroom catalog and you just want to keep your assignments separate, you can create a collection set and you can call it Photo 180 Assignments. And we hit create, and you can see that that makes a new box up here. There's nothing in it when I click on the little triangle. But now I can take my assignment 1 and I can just drag it up there and drop it into that collection, that collection set that we have. And now I can kind of hide it if I want to hide it, or show it if I want to show it. This collection set includes these 5 images, but it hasn't moved them on the hard drive. There is no subfolder up here. They're all still in this original folder, but it's put a little tag into this collection that says, these are the 5 images you wanted to see. Now, an image can be in more than one collection at a time. And I'm going to show you by creating a different kind of collection, which is called a smart collection. So I'm going to create a smart collection, and I am going to do it inside of the collection set Photo 180, and I'm going to call it favorite, or yeah, let's call it favorite Photo 180 images. Now, I'm putting it inside the collection set, and I'm going to now set up a little program that kind of tells me what I want it to do. So I'm going to tell it what things it's going to match. And so I'm going to say, I can either say any, which is like putting an or between each parameter, or I can say all, which is putting an and in between each parameter, or I can say none, meaning I want anything that doesn't have what I'm telling it. So let's say all, and I'm going to say rating is greater than or equal to 1, and then I can hit the little plus button over here, and I am going to say color label is red. And so it's going to find every image that has a rating that is greater than or equal to 1, and the color label is red. And so when I hit create, it creates this favorite Photo 180s, and there's those 3 images that are 1 star or greater and have the red label. And if I come back into my folder here and look at them, I can select another image, and if I tag that one red and I go back to my favorited images, it adds that image in. It's always looking for those parameters. It constantly updates itself depending on how you go and rate your images. So if I go and take the red rating off of this one, then you can see the number has dropped to 3, and it has removed that image from my collection. So collections are kind of cool because images can be in more than one collection. So when I made that one red, it's a 2 star, 1 star or greater, and red. So it is in my assignment 1 pics and in my favorite. So that's a collection and a collection set. It can be a really powerful way to kind of work with your images and utilize them. One of the nice things about it is when I go into the develop module, I can still see my collection sets. And so I can come in and sort of look for different images and then work with them. And we'll talk about that in more detail next week. There's one more thing that I want to show you with collection sets, and that's this thing up here, which is quick collection. So if you're going through and sorting your images and you want to just sort of tag some of them into a collection really quick without going and setting up a collection and doing all of that, there is this little circle that shows up in the upper right corner of your images, and it's down here. Let's see, I'll do it on this one as well. It's down here in the thumbnails as well, or the film strip. And if I click on that corner, you can see it makes that little dot gray, and it does it up here as well. And if I click on a few of those, what it's doing is it's adding them to my quick collection. So now my quick collection has those 3 photos in it. And once I've created that quick collection, I can now change this and I can say, oh, sorry, I'm going to go down here. I can go down here and I can say create collection, and I'll call it quick pics. And we can put it inside the collection set of my assignments, and I can hit create. Now, one of the other things that I sort of neglected to do right then and there is, and I'm going to double click on it, or sorry, I'm going to right click on it and say set as target collection. So I can set this as the target collection. You can see the little plus button moves down here to my quick picks and goes away from my quick collection. And now anything that I click on that little circle is going to automatically be added to this collection that I've chosen that has the little plus sign next to it. And you can see that when I created the quick picks collection, it left everything in the quick collection up here. And I can just remove those by hitting delete. And when I hit delete, it removes them from the collection. It does not delete them from my library. So it removed them from the collection, but all 20 of my images still exist in my folder. And so that's kind of a quick little walk through collections. Our assignment number 1, I want you to collect 20 of your images into a collection, and then from there, sort out the ones that you're going to utilize. And when you do that, I want a screenshot that shows me the previews with the ratings and the color settings and keywording and copywriting and all of that kind of stuff and your collections on it.